Welcome back to Informed Sources. House Republicans remain at odds over who should be the next Speaker of the House. On Friday in Washington, House Republicans voted to remove Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan as their Speaker nominee after he failed his third House vote. So it's back to square one. The House GOP will consider new candidates for Speaker over the weekend, and on Monday they will vote again behind closed doors to choose their next nominee. Without a Speaker or a temporary agreement to give the Speaker pro tem more power, the House cannot conduct normal business. They have less than a month now to pass a spending bill to keep the government open, and President Biden wants them to approve $100 billion in aid for Israel, Ukraine, and the border. You know, Lee, the House has never gone this long without a Speaker in mid-session. I've heard people say that democracy can be messy, but this is a real mess.
It's messy. You know, Congress, the dentist down the street that does tooth canals with no anesthesia or deadening.
That's what we're getting?
He has a better approval rating than Congress. And Congress is dysfunctional. And in fact, they're so dysfunctional that if it wasn't dysfunctional, they'd have no function at all. But conservatives like me, sometimes that's okay. We're spending money. We're $33 trillion in debt, which is where this all started. They're tired of sending money to countries that don't like us, hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars, and they're tired of it. And that's what really started this. But we have to get a Speaker because the line of secession, just the basic, things are not working right now, and we have to pass a continuing resolution. We really need a budget, but continuing resolution moving forward.
Tennessee has 9 members of their congressional delegation. 8 of those voted for Jim Jordan, the lone Democrat. That's Steve Cohen. He voted for Hakeem Jeffries, of course, and had 211 of his colleagues vote for Jeffries as well. How does this end? Do you see it?
That's a really, really good question. I do believe that the GOP at some point is going to get out of their own way. It reminds me of like the Far Side comic strip of the guy riding their bike and you put the stick in the bike and you fall over and you're like, darn stick. Like you want to put it right.
Yeah, right.
So like it's you think it's a laughing matter, but it's actually not a laughing matter. I am a Navy reservist. My unit supports Naval Forces Europe and 6th Fleet. And so Ukraine and Israel are very real. There's 14 people from my unit who've deployed in the past week to go to support those efforts, to get people to, we're talking about an evacuation of civilians like this. There are real issues happening in the world right now that in some way or another the United States has a moral obligation to support, and we've pledged our support. And we can't do the work of the people because there's a group of people that wants their way on the far right of the Republican side of the aisle. And what's very clear is 211 Democrats voted for their Speaker candidate. And so when we say Congress doesn't work, I feel like the Democrats are working. We know who we want, right? And so I think they will get it resolved eventually. I think there's going to be a compromise candidate. But I also know this is going to have a tremendous impact on midterm elections because it is going to be very hard for Republicans to point at Democrats as being the obstructionists or the problem when you can't even do the normal business which has been done the entire history of this country to have a Speaker of the House.
You know, interestingly, just across the river, Arkansas has 4 members of their delegation. One of their members, Womack, he voted for Steve Scalise. He did not vote for Jim Jordan. And one of the members there, Bruce Westerman from Hot Springs, he actually received a vote for Speaker in 2 separate votes. He said he would actually entertain the idea. Do you think, Lee, he actually has a shot?
Anybody has a shot at this point. Anybody that's a centrist in the Republican Party. The difference between the Democrats and Republicans right now is the Democrats are a progressive party. They are unified around progressivism. The Republicans, though, are a big tent party. We have liberals, we have moderates, we have moderate liberals, we have conservatives, moderate conservatives, we have conservatives and right-wing conservatives. We have the whole gamut, and it is hard to coalesce around one person when you're as diverse as that. So eventually we will get someone, like Corey said. I hope it's soon.
Yeah, interestingly, Arkansas's Wilbur Mills from many years ago was at one time voted the most powerful man in Washington. He never ascended to Speaker. He was chairman of the House Ways and Means. You know, when you take a look at this, is there any way that Democrats and Republicans maybe come together and coalesce to elect a Speaker?
I think that idea has been floated, but the same block of people that were obstructionists for the previous speakers,
not going to happen.
They're going to do the same thing. If even the idea of a moderate has been floated on the Democratic side of the aisle, that's not going to happen. I think both both parties are just as diverse. I think there is one person the party is aligned to under their big tent, and that is Donald Trump, right? Let's be very clear about that. He is still calling shots and still dictating, and his base is still dictating. Still the most popular Republican candidate for next year, even though someone who was helped him try to obstruct elections in Georgia just pleaded guilty. And so he can say big tent. They're taking orders from one person, and as long as they do that, they're going to continue to see the same folly that they're experiencing right now. They're going to have to get back to the old GOP party, and then we can actually probably get some governance done.
All right, and we're going to get back to Memphis, because when we come back, from drama on Capitol Hill to drama over Tom Lee Park and the Beale Street Music Festival, we'll talk about the decision to pause next year's music festival and talk about the replacement event now being planned by the River Parks Partnerships. That's coming up next on Informed Sources.